was being streamed out, and I didn't even know it. So looking forward to having you all here too. So Women Who Lead, we're all very flattered to be invited to come and share some of our experiences with you today. Dr. Scott is sorry that he couldn't be here in person, but I told him, I said, that's okay, because I wanted to talk about you anyway. So I do want to share a couple of things with you. In the 15 years that I have worked with Dr. Scott, there has never been the slightest hint that my being female was in any way a disadvantage. So I'd just like for all of you to know that. He has supported my career, and he has supported the careers of all the women that you'll hear today. He has always treated me with great respect, and he has allowed me to use my talents. And that's what we hope for those of you who will be graduating and going out into the world. What we hope for you is that you find an employer who will respect you and allow you to use your talents. So that's enough introduction, and let's start the conversation. And now I'd like to recognize the person behind this effort. Sandra DeBose is the Student Activities Coordinator. Come on.
Thank you everybody for being here to help us celebrate Women's History Month. Woo-hoo! That is exciting. We've had a fantastic time so far with the events that we have put together, and I just want to take this moment to recognize the Women's History Month Committee. None of this would be possible. I did not do this by myself. I have an amazing team. I have awesome co-workers. I have to let you know that Wig Tech really rocks. Really seriously rocks, because there was not one co-worker that I called and said, hey, you know, we're doing this Women's History Month thing. I need your creative ideas. Will you be on the team? And everybody, whether it was events, student activities, any department I called, they were just so welcoming and everybody was excited. So the Women's History Month Committee, if you're in the room, can you please stand? And our student activities team. And so our theme for the month, for this year is Nevertheless She Persists. That's the national theme. And so we really wanted to create this event so that we have an opportunity to hear from the women who we admire. We see them all the time. We may see them in passing in different campuses, at meetings, etc., but we never get an opportunity to really get to know them, to hear their story of how they got to be where they are in their career and as a woman. And so this is a really wonderful opportunity for us to glean from their wisdom, to get to know them a little bit better, more than just a title and an email. We get to know them personally, so we're really happy and we really appreciate them taking the time out of their busy schedules to spend a little girl time with us, right? So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm so grateful that a good friend of mine, Deborah Holt-Noel, you might have seen her on television on UNC-TV, you know, as a host and a producer, that she agreed to come and to moderate, because we wanted absolutely the best for absolutely the best. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Deborah's bio. Deborah Holt-Noel is a senior producer and on-air talent at North Carolina statewide PBS network UNC-TV. She's host and contributing producer of the network's weekly travel and leisure program, North Carolina Weekend, and producer and host of the long-running public affairs series, Black Issues Forum. Ms. Noel attended Howard University in Washington, D.C. for 2 years before completing her bachelorette studies at St. Augustine's University right here in Raleigh. During her studies at St. Augustine's, she interned at the college radio station, WAUG-AM 750, and graduated with a degree in radio broadcasting. She went on to work in corporate television production at a small company in Raleigh, and then attended the University of Maryland at College Park, where she completed her Master of Arts in Television Production. She's married, she has a beautiful little girl, she has a beautiful spirit, and so without further ado, who's going to moderate this amazing session, please help me welcome and away Mrs. Deborah Holt-Noel. Come on.
You, Sandra, thank you so much for inviting me to moderate this panel. It's an honor to get to sit with all of these executive women. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce each one. And if you wouldn't mind, please take a seat, beginning at chair and just work your way on down. I'd like to introduce Dr. Gayle Greene, who we just heard from, the Executive Vice President of Wake Technical College. Laurie Clowers is the Vice President of Communications and Marketing. We have Dr. Rita Jerman, Senior Vice President for Enrollment and Student Services. Also the RTP Chief Campus Officer. And we have Monica Gemperlein, Associate Vice President, Continuing Education, Open Enrollment Programs, and CCO Campus. This is the first lady I met when I came here, Rebecca Neagle. She is the Provost of Arts and Sciences and Chief Campus Officer for the Northern Wake Campus. Happy Women's Month. Let's celebrate women, celebrate our power and all the great things that we do. And I appreciate you coming out to share your stories of perseverance, but let's let the audience first get to know you a little bit personally. And we will start with you, Gayle, and we'll just share, kind of a profile of who you are and how you got to be the Executive Vice President of Wake Technical Community College.
Well, that's kind of a long story, so...
It's in 30 seconds.
That's 30 seconds. So I was working in private higher education, and during my doctoral program at NC State, I learned about community colleges. Never been to a community college, but I fell in love with the mission and decided that that's where I needed to be. So 16 years ago now, I started out as the Dean of Arts and Humanities and Social Sciences. That's right, we had a long name. And then I had the opportunity to lead the opening and the expansion of the Northern Wake campus. And for a little while, I was asked to oversee human resources and a lot of things, in between. And for the last 3 years, I've been the Executive Vice President. That's about 30 seconds.
That sounds great.
Very honored to work for this great institution.
And I'm going to tell on you because at the table you shared that you love gardening and you love hiking in rural areas. She also has 2 doggies.
They all know that.
And so if you didn't know, this is just a little personal tidbit. And Laurie Clowers, many people will probably recognize you from your career on television.
Right, I was working in local television news before I came to Wake Tech, and there was an instance where I needed a subject matter expert for a story I was working on, and I needed to speak with an electrician. And so somebody at the TV station said, well, I hear Wake Tech has an electrical program, why don't you call down? And it was kind of at that moment I realized that we never really knew much about Wake Tech in that...
Before Laurie.
So when the opportunity came up for me to actually work here, I said, yeah, I need to help get that story out. So I'm grateful to be here too.
Terrific. Where are you originally from, Laurie?
I'm originally from Connecticut, went to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and then worked for a few TV stations up and down the East Coast, down to Atlanta, helped start up CNN Headline News in the early 80s, and then went up to DC where I started reporting, and then came here to WRAL in State.
Thank you for sharing that. That's fascinating. We have Dr. Rita Jerman, and tell us a little bit about you, Rita.
Sure. Well, I'm an original North Carolina native. Not many of us around. I'm from Murfreesboro, North Carolina, in the northeastern part of the state. I have 2 grown kids, 30 and 26. My daughter's getting married this year, so I'm a little bit busy. As far as things I like to do, I love to shop. I like to travel. I like to read. I've always worked in student affairs, started out in student activities in Mohawk Valley Community College, upstate New York, and I've been in student affairs for almost 30 years doing that. I came to Wake Tech as a temp. When I needed a job, I had a kid and a husband, and we needed to work. And I fell in love with the college. I'd never been on a community college campus before. But so I've grown up with Wake Tech. It's been a good experience for me.
Thank you, I love that. I love that story. And Monica, please.
Okay, following all these amazing women already. I am actually a transplant. I am not from North Carolina. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, which is where I met my husband, and we had come back to the East Coast, and that was too many people, so we moved out west to Colorado for 4 years, and I was, my degree is in education, it's in elementary education, but I was working teaching adults in Africa, so I kind of moved towards adult ed, which I was doing part-time in Colorado, and that's after my son was born out there. That's what brought me back to the East Coast, and met somebody who said, well, they have an ESL program at Wake Tech. Did you know about that? I said, no. And probably 2 months later, I was an adjunct instructor for the ESL program here at Wake Tech, and since then I've just kind of changed positions and had a lot of opportunities here, so it's been wonderful.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Holt.
Thank you. I also am not a native North Carolinian, although I've spent my entire adult life here, so it feels as though I'm a Raleigh. I started my career as everybody's favorite thing, an English teacher.
I love my English teacher. She's my favorite course.
Yeah, a lot of times when you say to people, I teach English, they sort of freeze. They are afraid to talk to you anymore, and I've had even a number of people here say, I'm not sending you anymore either. And I hope that isn't true of anyone here. I'm originally from Huntington, West Virginia, but was delighted to relocate to North Carolina. I've been at Wake Tech for 12 years. Like Gayle, I'm a dog person, so those of you who know me know that there's never a dog very far away. And Wake Tech has just been a dream come true for me. It's been a wonderful experience ever since I've been here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing a little slice of who you are, each of you. And I'm gonna pick on Rita with our opening question. And each of you is an executive, and that means you're a leader in what you do. How would you define your leadership style and your brand?
I hope my style is more adaptive, because we're a changing college, and you just can't afford to be one way all the time, because you'll fail, basically. You have to constantly know what your people need and switch to that. I'm watching John Saparillis, who's one of my favorite. But it's part of knowing your people and growing your people. You've got to know what they need, and then you adapt your leadership style. Don't ask the person to change. The leader needs to change.
That's great advice. And Gayle, how about your leadership style?
Well, you asked about brand also.
And brand as well, yes.
Because she sent some extra questions out this morning, and I was thinking about that one, and I even called Laurie. I said, Laurie, what's my brand?
It's on your Facebook page.
Oh, I am not on Facebook, folks. Don't recommend that. We have well, no, I won't go there. Okay. As I was thinking about brand, I remembered we went through a branding exercise with Wake Tech a few years back. And I realized that I hope my brand is very similar to what people told us about Wake Tech. They said that we were friendly and welcoming, that we were dependable and responsible, and that we were very dedicated to our mission. Did I get them all? Is that right? And I at this point in my life, my sense of identity is so tied up with the community college movement, as the way I think about it, that I think of myself in those terms. So I hope that people think of me in the same way that they do Wake Tech. As far as the style is concerned, I have said on many occasions, if you want to run a huge college like this, complex and complicated, you have to have teams. You have to have strong, smart teams, and I believe that's what we have, and these women are part of that team, and people in this room, you're part of that team. So by bringing us together, and as I said earlier, letting us use all of our best talents, I think that's how we succeed.
Thank you. And I'm going to pick on Monica now. Monica, you get to work with, I would imagine, a variety of different kinds of students in enrollment and so forth. So how do you lead?
We do. Workforce continuing education is a large part of Wake Tech, and we have a variety of students coming to us from all different professions, and many of which have either no English for our ESL program, all the way up to folks who have doctorates and PhD coming in for recertifications for ongoing programs. So we do a lot with that. That being said, for me, servant leadership is probably more along the lines of what my experience and my practice is, and that is really getting to know the folks that I work with, getting to know the students who I'm working with, and addressing my style and being adaptive. As Dr. Jerman shared, knowing who you're working with makes a huge difference in terms of how you lead and how you approach a situation.
Rebecca, thank you.
I think I agree with everything you said, Monica. Flexibility is key. I try to be as collaborative as I can in leadership. I know that there are times when you can't, when the buck stops here and you have to make decisions that aren't always easy or popular. I think it's important, though, that with the people you work with, that you let them know when that's the case, so that they understand this is a decision that I have to make. I'm asking for your input. I want to know what you think. I want to work with you, but sometimes I have to be responsible for it. Whenever possible, though, I'd like to involve as many appropriate people as possible and get good feedback.
I think that's really important that you talked about collaboration, because so often when you're the leader, there might be this perception that you're the leader, especially as women, if you're stepping new into the position of leadership. I've got to make all of the decisions, and yet you need to collect information and input from other people. And I was going to ask you to weigh in on that too, Laurie.
Yes, and actually coming from our background from television news, we know that the person who's in front of the camera is not doing it alone. It's all about teamwork. And so there's a producer, there's a director, there's a photographer. There's a whole group of people that are making that live shot happen. And so I think that's my approach to leadership as well, is collaboration and teamwork, and letting people who are the experts at what they do what they do best, and just trying to maybe set the direction and the strategy, but then stepping away and letting the experts do what they do, because I don't do it all.
Very good, yes.
May I add something? I think also something that I always keep in mind is that I will not be here forever, and there are other people who are waiting to step into leadership positions. So with collaborating and with involving as many people as it's practical and possible to do, then you're giving other people leadership opportunities, and then when it's their turn, they have the opportunity to move into those roles.
That's so essential. You've got to reach back, because like you said, you're not going to be there forever. And as I mentioned, we're talking about perseverance, and I'd love for each of you to share a time when you took a risk. How do you feel, first of all, about risk-taking? Is that, part of who you are? And describe a time that you actually took a risk and how it worked out for you. Gayle?
Yeah, I'm the extrovert in the group. You may have picked that up. You asked earlier how I got to be executive vice president at CARD. You have never say no to a challenge. I'll tell you, I'm so sorry Benita Clark couldn't be here today. She's taking care of her mother, which is something else that women and men do at this point in our lives, and couldn't be here. But I suppose the challenge one of the challenges that really stands out, and the time that I took a risk, I was we didn't have the word provost then, but I was the vice president at the Northern Wake campus, and generally that was considered to be a pretty sweet job, right? So I had this really sweet job. We're growing and building buildings and spending millions of dollars, and but we had some needs in human resources, and I had been the leader of this group of deans letting Mr. Gerald Mitchell, who was the EVP before me, know that we had some concerns. And next thing I knew, Mr. Mitchell said, well, you're going to fix that. You're going to address those concerns. And people all over the college, when they would see me afterwards, they would say, are you okay? Did you have a choice? Are condolences appropriate, or should we congratulate you? And I said, oh, no, it's fine. But I guess of all the risks, that's the one. Although I'd been a manager for a number of years, I had never been directly responsible for human resources. And Benita likes to tell the story that when she first got there were all these gorgeous brand new books that were from the International Society for Human Resource Development. I had read all those books over the holiday because I didn't feel like I had enough background. So.
But I love that you spoke up and that knowing kind of where the challenges were, you spent that time to do your research and prepare yourself.
Yes, but then, not so many months later, I found Benita. So it's all, do your research, but then find the real expert who is really the embodiment of that work. But you can't say no. And I've got many examples. Rita and I talked before about how many times we volunteered. When you need a new experience, if there's not something available, we'll make it up and propose something new.
How about taking a risk for you, Laurie?
Well, I would say the risk was making a career change later in life after 20 years of being in television news and having a little young daughter at home who said, Mama, don't go to work on Saturday, and it just, it hurt me that I couldn't be there with her because when you're in news, you're on call 24/7 and you have to work weekends, nights, early mornings, getting up at 2:30 in the morning to be in at 4 for that early morning news did get tough. And so I did decide I was going to make a career change, and I will say that I didn't come directly here. I went to corporate for about 6 months and did not like it, and it did not work out, and I was scared to death that I had made the wrong choice. And so I did some real soul searching on, do I need to go back to at least I know what I'm doing, and should I go back to news? And then, things happen for a reason, and this opportunity came, and I said, I'm going to give it one more shot before I, go back to news, because I knew that wasn't for me anymore. And the rest is, I've been here for 11 years and love it. So.
That is very real, just that fear of making a career switch and then switching into something that's not working out for you, but then, hanging in there and persevering and it working out for you. But you now can imagine in retrospect, you needed to make that first move.
Had to. I had to make the break, and I had to just say, I'm going to take this risk, and I'm going to go for it, whether it's the right fit for me or not. I'm going to just give it a shot. But then there were doubts when it was not working out, and I didn't care for it, and I'm like, ooh, what did I do? And then things have a way of working out.
That's awesome, and I want to let everybody know. Yes.
I was going to say, I frame it a little bit different because risk sounds like, for introverts, like, oh, I'm never going to jump off the cliff. So, I look at it as taking an opportunity, take advantage of opportunities. In my case, when we were just starting to talk about RTP campus, we were in this room, I think, and Dr. Scott had introduced the campus. And I went up to him afterwards and said, who are you going to pick to lead that campus? He said, well, I don't know, you have somebody in mind? I said, yeah, I'd like to do it. Well, I didn't get the job that time. It came around a second time. But just putting it out there. Of course, after that, I said, what did I just do? Every day, I said, what did I just do? But I think if you think about it as, this is an opportunity, not so much a risk, because risk might keep you from doing it. But if you think about it as an opportunity, you might go after it.
I love that you would use that different word, phrase that differently. Monica.
I'm going to kind of go along with what Laurie said, only mine was different in that I was having a lot of issues with family issues. My son was very sick. It had just been a really rough year. At the same time, I was working in corporate America. I was out in Colorado car, phone, nice salary, lots of benefits, and had to make that decision of, I can't mentally keep doing this, what do I do now? And took that step out of the role and went to be a stay-at-home mom for a while and found out that wasn't for me. But that step was, I can do this part-time, and that's really what got me into Wake Tech, is I needed something to do that at the same time, but I realized I had to make that change mentally for myself in order to make it successful. So, and it's worked out tremendously, and Wake Tech's been great.
And Wake Tech has benefited. Rebecca?
I like Rita's idea of calling them opportunities rather than risk, and I think we all face those at different times. When I came to Wake Tech, I left a tenured position as a full professor and for an unknown. But I've never regretted it. I have not had, like my colleagues here, that what have I done moment. I was happy I did it. Now, when I considered becoming the Chief Campus Officer of Northern Wake Campus, I did think, but there's so many things I don't know. I'm going to have to learn. But it's been fun to learn. And so by taking that opportunity, I've been grateful.
And I think it's important that that we tell ourselves, you know, I can do that, and that you step forward and consider yourself for that position. Because I don't know, Gayle, if you ever thought, I'll be heading up a college system one day. If that was ever in your thoughts growing up. Have you always been a leader?
Well, I wanted to save the world, and I decided that the community college was the best way to do that. So.
I love that. It's a great way to say it.
Maybe I should say change the world, help the world change itself.
Very good. Because there's so many opportunities that await people who come through these doors, and you're doing your best to make sure that they have the access and that they take advantage of the opportunities that are here. I'd like for you to share a little bit about speaking up for yourself, because I think that for some women, it's difficult to, I don't know if it's exclusive to women, but for some people, it is difficult to stand up for yourself and speak out when it's time to speak out. So do any of you have a practice or a way of reminding yourselves or making sure that you're speaking up for yourself when it's time to speak up? Rita?
I can't remember her name, but there's a lady who leads Leadership Triangle, I think.
Jessica?
Yes.
Jessica
Park. And she said something one day that's really stuck. She said every time she walks into a room, she hears theme music in her head, which is sort of her confidence booster. So she's telling herself, I belong here. And so she's hearing this affirming music saying her, you belong in this room, you have something to offer. So I try to do that. It may not show, you may all think I'm very confident all the time. Really, I'm an introvert, and I have to really pump myself up to even do this kind of thing, because I'm not an extrovert like Gayle. But when I go in and meet self-construction people, you know, I've done my homework, so I'm always going to be prepared. It's part of that may be a weakness, but anyway. I'm always going to be prepared, just because I want to, you know, be able to contribute. Because you're in the room, and I'm always feeling like I'm in the room, but there's other women who also want to be in the room. So I've got to represent when I'm there. So that's why I go prepared. So I just think there's just times we have a place there, and we just have to constantly remind ourselves. And my other trick is to have your own tribe. I've got a group of women who will pick me up, who pray for me, and I don't mind sharing with them, hey, I'm feeling kind of anxious about this. Talk me through it. And it's because I got that support too that helps be in the room.
Do you others have tribes as well?
Yes. I have a tribe.
How did you formulate your tribe, Rebecca? Or did they find you?
I think we found each other. I think shared experiences, we found each other, and knowing that in certain situations I'm speaking for my tribe. Some of my tribes at this table right here. Knowing that my voice must be their voice gives me the inspiration and power to speak. So whereas I might be more reticent myself, I know that I'm speaking for these people, and so there's no choice but to speak. And I also thought about, as a young girl, I remember saying to my father one time about a difficult situation, I said, I can't. And he looked at me and he said, you must. So you can and you will. And so I remind myself of that often, you must.
That's
so
powerful.
You can.
That is powerful.
Can I add?
Gayle, please.
I don't have the, since I could talk, I've been speaking up, but there's been an interesting experience that I've had recently. So especially in the last year when I filled in for Dr. Scott Moore, filling in for him, I'm with different groups of people, and sometimes they're very wealthy. And at one point in my life, I might have had a bit of prejudice towards people who were very wealthy, but what Dr. Scott helped me understand was when I'm with the rich and powerful groups that, like Rebecca was saying, I'm speaking for community college students, for Wake Tech students, and so now maybe that's my theme song. I mean, as I'm going into the room, I'm thinking I am here for the community college students who don't have the opportunity to be here with the rich and the powerful, in order to convince them to share the resources with our students. And I spend a lot of time talking about we are a very affluent county. Wake County gets more affluent every year, and there's no excuse for us leaving behind 10 to 20% of the population. Okay, so sorry, I'll start to preach. So now my voice is, I'm speaking for those who are not present. And I so admire Monica. Well, we all are fighting for students, but sometimes Monica's students have even greater challenges maybe than some of our other students, and she and her tribe, they're so relentless in their support of those students. So.
Did anyone else want to weigh in? I was going to ask also, did you want to share on that? But I did want to ask also, can you share about, sometimes it's helpful to understand how to exercise power, know how not to behave in an unpowerful way. Are there any examples that you can share with our audience about a time when perhaps you gave up your power and you wish you hadn't, or maybe you witnessed someone else doing so and you're like, I think I would have handled that differently, would advise them differently? Monica?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I had different jobs. I'd been in corporate America, and I was applying for one position and was told by the person who was vacating the spot, you need to advocate for more money. You need to push for more money. And it was an organization that I wasn't sure had the money, but she kept saying, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. And so I did. I kind of made that request, and they told me they didn't have the funds. And I felt that sense of responsibility to my tribe and to my team, and I took it anyways. And I regret that to this day, that I didn't advocate the way I should have advocated for myself. And now I won't let that happen again, I promise.
That negotiation, it's sort of, to me, easier said than done. I think I hear so often about how women particularly will go into the negotiation table and not negotiate, but just what can you offer, or what are you offering, and I'll just grab that up. How do you negotiate? How do you press forward? Laurie?
Well, I'll go ahead and add that, first of all, I am an introvert, even though I was on TV. So a lot of times I will have to prepare and choose my words and think about something before I go into a negotiation. I might even write it down and rehearse it and practice it. And I think that's okay. I think that it just helps you prepare and speak the best way that you can to articulate what it is that you're concerned about. I didn't really have a good example for myself on giving up power, but I have an example of someone that I know and didn't give up power, but kind of going on what Monica was talking about. She was searching for a new job, and so she went to a company president and really told them what they need. You know, really what type of person, what she would bring to the table if they hired her. They didn't have an open position, and that was recommended to me too when I was looking. That, you know, find the place where you want to work and then tell them what you can do for them. And lo and behold, they did create her position. So
That is really interesting, and it requires that research too. You know, you go, and it's just a testament to, you know, when you go to work at an organization, or maybe even for yourself, is researching that landscape and figuring out, you know, do I want to be here? And then how do I want to fit into that as well? I also regret that Benita's not here at the panel, because I had a question about something that's become really popular, talked about a lot in our news, and that's the Me Too movement. And I wanted to ask, how do you persevere through a Me Too moment, or if you're advising someone, or if you yourself sense that this is going on, what advice would you have to somebody to encourage them to, you know, speak out or do what they need to do in order to do what they need to do what's right?
I think it's important to understand that so many people have had Me Too moments, that this is not an isolated thing, although it certainly feels that way at the time. You can feel very alone. But I think if you can reach to other people who have had experiences such as that, they can guide you. They can help you know that you are not alone. And that will give you the strength to move forward. I think the reason that the Me Too movement was so powerful was because maybe some of us didn't understand that this was almost universal, almost ubiquitous. And so when you realize that so many people share that pain, that feeling of isolation, it can help you move through yours, help you hang in there, and then when the time is right, you can reach back, as you said, and help other people who've had the same experience.
And I think, you know, for those of us in our role, or anyone who's in a supervisory role, listening and watching and seeing what's happening around you is essential to understanding and recognizing what's happening and paying attention to those details or nuances. Because a lot of times folks will try to initiate the conversation, but it's a hard one to start. And how you are receptive, or how you can be receptive to that conversation, makes a big difference as well. Because I think, unfortunately, far too many of us have had those Me Too moments.
Why is it so difficult to bring it up? I mean, what's going on? What are we telling ourselves that we need to just, you know? I will just say that I think that a lot of times it's the silence. It's like, well, I don't want to rock the boat. I misinterpreted. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to get labeled.
I think
You only need 2 words, Anita Hill.
Yeah. But I think sometimes if you're a woman and you're trying to make a place for yourself in an organization, you may say, well, you know, it wasn't that bad, you know. So I think you're talking about giving away our power. I think so those of us with positional power, we've got an obligation to be out there and know what's going on in our organization. If that means walking the halls and knowing your people. If I notice that one of my staff who's normally, you know, extroverted is all of a sudden now not contributing, it's on me as a supervisor to reach out and have that conversation, and not wait for that person to come to me and report something. So I think as more women get into supervisory roles, that's part of what goes with. We have to be that person. As an African American, sometimes I have to be that person for that group. I got to be that person for women. And so you can't shy away from that, I don't think, because a lot of this I think happened because we didn't have women in positions who could have said something. And so I just know, with a daughter who's 30 and just get started in corporate. I hope there's women like us that if she experiences that, she will have someone she can go to. So that's what I'm constantly thinking. Because we've got 180 some people in student services. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of young women. And they're bright and they're talented, and I want them to stay. So I want to make an environment so they want to be here.
So we're talking a little bit about how you relate to other people and relationships. Let's kind of move forward to talking about a mentoring relationship. Share a little bit. I'll just start from the end and we'll move down with Gayle. Do you have a mentor, or are you a mentor? And how do you describe a healthy mentorship relationship?
Okay, so in my life, most of my mentors, especially the formal mentors, have been men. So I don't even know how to get started on that, because I learned a lot of hard lessons from some of them. I didn't really like what I learned, but later I realized that I was stronger because of that. Do I have a minute to tell a story?
Yes, you do, please.
Jerry Mitchell would forgive me for telling the story. I learned about 7 years ago that my supervisor at the time, the one that gave me HR and the one that was the executive VP before me, initially he thought that I was something of a lightweight. Okay, lightweight. Okay. So that's, he thought I was smart, but he thought I was too nice to make the hard decisions. So by the time he admitted that to me, he was beginning to suspect that I was tougher than I seemed. So for the next few years after that, he proceeded to test my toughness on a regular basis. Now at the time, I didn't understand very well why he would test me in these ways, but it wasn't helpful to argue about it. He believed what he witnessed with his own eyes. And I came to understand that testing me was a huge compliment to him, because that meant that he believed that I was a contender. He liked metaphors about boxing. In fact, later he started comparing me to Muhammad Ali, and I kept going, but Mr. Mitchell, that doesn't make sense. I'm not like Muhammad Ali. But what he was, there was this thing Muhammad Ali did where he would make you think you were losing, and then he would take you out or something like that. I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. But what he was trying to describe is that I could still love the person, I could genuinely care about the person, but if hard decisions had to be made or I needed to have difficult conversations with them, I did what I had to do for the sake of the whole college. And that's one of the challenging things about being leaders is we care greatly about individuals, but we're responsible for the whole, for the teams or the divisions or the college. But I bring up Mr. Mitchell because when we first met, we're very, very different personalities, and I remember thinking, should I behave more like him? And then I thought, well, but no, that would have not worked for me. I couldn't have led in an authentic way because his personality was very, very different than mine. So the point I want to make is learn from everyone who will teach you, especially learn from people who are different from you. My second toughest mentor was a finance guy, and he taught me the hard lessons about money. And those were not joyful lessons either, but those things made me much stronger. So anyone who will mentor you, anyone who takes time with you, that's a huge compliment. And so even if you don't quite know how what they're saying is going to help you or how it fits into your worldview, listen, but then always make it fit into your own leadership style, because the only way we can be authentic is if it comes from our own personality and our own values. And people will trust you and believe you more if you seem to be authentic in what you're doing. But don't shy away from the difficult mentoring situations or even the difficult personalities, because that's some of the best lessons that I've ever learned. And all these people are my mentors too.
Thank you, Gayle. Authenticity, that is key. Laurie.
And I would say also part of that is humility, to know that you don't know everything and that you could use the advice of a peer or someone who is in a leadership role. So I've had several mentors over my life. One in particular really helped me through the transition of a career change. And I mean, she was so nice to give of her time to talk to me about weighing the pros and cons versus what I'm giving up versus what I would gain, and really talking it out with me, going through the scenario and realizing, and it gave me the courage to know that I was making the right decision when I took a risk. And then coming here to Wake Tech, Dr. Scott, I think we'll all probably go down the line and say that he's been a mentor. I had not worked in higher education, and so I learned from the best. He has taught me everything I know. So.
Wonderful. And Rita?
Yeah, I'll just start with Dr. Scott. I mean, as Gayle mentioned, it's good to have a variety of mentors, but here at this college, Dr. Scott probably has been my primary one. It's almost like talking to your dad, but also getting the hard advice too. Yeah. So
And then having your dad retire, it's like, what?
yeah, because he knows us better, gosh, than almost anybody. So
We spend more time.
yeah, he can tailor the advice to you, especially, which is what I like about him so much. But other mentors I've had have been outside the college, just because, you might need a personal mentor, you might need a professional mentor sometimes. So to me, it helps getting someone who look at you from the outside, doesn't necessarily know what's going on inside the college. You can just say, oh, let me give you a view from another perspective. Or if you think things are really bad here, let them tell you how it is at corporate. You're like, oh, you got it really good. But as far as a mentor, I love mentoring other people. Again, just because you got to reach out to give back. I think about what I wish I had when I was 25 and 30, and try to be that person for people who are coming up.
Very good. Thank you.
And I think you talked, I think Dr. Greene, about, finding folks who are different than yourself. I'm another introvert up here on the stage, so just being on the stage is always a challenge for me. But matching yourself up with folks who can really push you intentionally, that's what you need to do. And I'm married to my complete opposite, 100%, and what I find is I can go home and I can have those conversations with him, and he's going to give me a completely different perspective just because that's how he thinks. He goes back to those putting yourself out there and enforcing yourself. And yet at the same time, they're building confidence. He helps me develop my own confidence and my own strength by pushing me and having that faith in me and believing what I can achieve, kind of thing. But every single person up on here, on the stage and on my teams, there is something unique and special about every single one of those people. And I can't say that there's one person that I would look to as my mentor all the time, because as you were saying, your personal life, your professional life, there's always someone different that you want and you need to balance you out. So.
I just want to add that it's not a one-way street. So I've been on both sides of that equation. I've been very grateful for the mentors that I've had, and I've also been very grateful for the people who have turned to me for mentoring, and I have learned as much from them, I think, as they have learned from me. So even if I have more experience in one area than that person does, that doesn't mean that I can't learn from someone who turns to me for mentoring. And hearing that fresh perspective and that fresh voice is a delight. So please don't hesitate to look for mentors if you think it's appropriate. Both sides gain from the experience.
Have any of you had a mentor who's younger than you, less experienced? So you can, like you said, learn from everyone. And especially these days, and in my field, I don't know that I call them mentors, but the young people out there for whom technology is second nature and social media is second nature, it's just, I have to respect what they know and try to learn from them, but also it's a challenge and to remind myself that, I have something to offer as well. But it's the new kind of dynamic. It's, you've got something to share and I'm not threatened by that. I want to learn about it. I've got something I would love to share with you if you want to learn about it. And it's a mutual sharing kind of dynamic. I thought I would ask also about, you've talked about your mentors. I think each of us has that family member whose voice is like in our head, kind of like you shared about your dad. I love that one. But do any of you have a message or something that one of your parents has said to you, a piece of advice that you kind of carry with you as that piece of strength? I know for me, when I was in graduate school, it was the toughest time and experience of my life at that point. And I had to produce a video, and I had taken the courses and everything, but I didn't know what to do. And everything was a chore, everything was a bear, and it just was around me. And I will never forget my mom telling me, Debbie, just take the first step, and then take the next step, and take one step at a time. And it's not all going to happen all at once, but if you don't do anything but one thing on your list, on your to-do list, you can feel a sense of accomplishment. You're that much closer to meeting your goal. And so now whenever I have something that's a mountain before me, I remember those words, just take the next step. And I literally remember walking across the campus of University of Maryland, carrying a cartload of 3/4-inch videotapes. They're really heavy, and heading to an edit bay. And I would tell myself, just one more step, take one more step in the snow, in the rain, or whatever it is. You're one step closer to the edit bay, to the end of your project. So that was an advice that sticks with me. Do you have any?
Sure, I'll start. For me, it's when my parents, I don't remember the exact time when they started saying this, but I remember them saying everything happens for a reason. And I think it kind of goes to our faith, and when I get stuck and I'm trying to figure out why, or how to get through an obstacle, I always tend to think about that, and I meditate on it and think, well, there's got to be a reason, so let me just kind of figure it out, and even if I don't understand it now, or I pray and I say, help me figure it out. Let me see the reason. Why is this happening? Because I do believe that.
Thank you. Gayle?
Well, I think my mother taught me how to love, and my father taught me how to think. But as far as a saying that was dominant from my childhood, I think it was a passage from the Gospel of Matthew: "To whom much is given, much is required." And I'd say that one's pretty dominant.
Thank you. Rita?
Mine isn't so much a statement, but just a memory. My Aunt Marion she's dead now, but she grew up during a time where you still had to prove that you were eligible to vote. And so she had a master's degree in English, and she could speak Latin and French. So she went to polling place one day to cast her vote, and she was asked, well, you have to read this passage from the Constitution. And she knew that people that were asking her to read it couldn't read it themselves, but she was subjected to this. And so not only did she read it, but then she read it back to them in Latin. So now when things get hard, and I think about how hard it must have been for her to be an educated woman to be subjected to that, I'm thinking, what I'm going through is nothing. Just remember what Aunt Marion did. So all of that comes back to my mind when things get hard, or I think I can't do something. I'm like, sure you can. Because your road's already been paved for this. You just got to walk in.
And I would kind of agree with that. I don't think my mom gave me words per se, as much as that, nevertheless, she persisted. The theme for today, which She got pregnant at 16 and had me at 17. She had just graduated from high school and planned to go to college, but didn't obviously go because she had a new baby to take care of. So a single mom growing up, and throughout my childhood it was always, you're going to college. I don't care which college, you can pick that one, but you're going to college. And then while I was in college, and you're going to get a master's degree, and you're going to do this. And it was always setting the bar above and higher. You know, so first generation college student, and you're going to get a master's while you're at, you know, I mean, there was always that expectation, and I think that's what helped me push myself further and you know, try to push others along and kind of help guide others as we go through it, because there's a lot of effort that goes into succeeding and doing something new and trying something new, and especially when you're doing it on your own.
I always think of my maternal grandmother, who was not 5 feet tall. She was a tiny little person. And when she was just 18 years old, she and a group of her friends took the train from St. Joe, Missouri to St. Louis. And all of the train tickets were in her bag. And as they were walking along the street, a young man came up and grabbed her bag and ran off with it. And my grandmother chased him, and with her umbrella beat him until he dropped her bag. And when I asked her about it, she said, well, I had everybody else's tickets in there, I had to get them. And that has resonated with me my whole life, that you can't just be passive, you have to go get those tickets, especially if there's someone else's. So her strength was always an inspiration to me.
What a great illustration. Go get those tickets. Fantastic. Let me ask you about your work here at Wake Tech. What excites you the most about what you get to do here? I'm going to start with you.
What excites me the most is, well, two things really. The opportunities that we afford to students. I can't think of a better thing to do with our lives and our careers than to help so many people along their roads. But also being able to spark inspiration and growth in the employees that are here and helping them reach their goals and watching them succeed and watching them grow into leadership positions. I can't think of anything I'd rather do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. You know, I mean, we're here for the students. I think every person I know who works at Wake Tech believes in the mission and believes in the students that we're here to serve, and that's why we come to work every day. It's really to see that difference, to see the light bulb go off, whether it's in, you know, an English course, a drafting course, it doesn't matter what the class is. In my area, as I said before, we serve so many students from so many different walks of life. I mean, we're in women's prison where we are training not only the corrections officers, but we also train the inmates. I mean, we just cover everything. And knowing that and knowing how important and how much of a difference you can make in someone's life, just answering their question or just, you know, giving them hope or inspiration, just that's what drives you every day, I think. Drives me.
Well, obviously, as a student affairs person, I should say students, right? So I'll say students. But what really drives me is the organizational development piece. When I look across all the staff and faculty at Wake Tech, and I think about all the people that I've had a little bit of touch in their life, that's what gets me going. And I'll throw out some names. I'm seeing people like people like Kathy Beasley, who came here as an office assistant, where she is now. Michelle Blackman, when she first came. And I see all these people that I've helped develop over time and what they're doing now. And I know once I retire, what they're going to be doing in the future. And I'm just like, wow. You know, we have really been a talent pipeline here. We've got some great folks that do great work for students. Because in our role, you know, I don't see students that often. What I do is a really bad thing, usually. So I've got to trust that the people that we've got that we're developing are really doing the great on the ground work. And so that's what really gets me going.
Well, as a storyteller from my previous job, what gets me going is just the gold mine that we have here of fantastic student success stories. And every day, I mean, if we had, a lot more people like me, we could tell so many more stories. I mean, there's just, we could tell a story a day and still not get through them, just about the students who came in and the great faculty we have that help them persevere, and advisors and all the folks, the teamwork that went into helping those students succeed. And so that part of it, the student stories, is what really drives me, but also the programs, the innovation we have here at our institution. And then just the fact that there is so much that we're doing that it's, bless you, Holland is out there. Just the innovation and the way we're evolving all the time. Every day is a different day, and there's never a dull moment. So lots of excitement.
Every morning when I get out of my car, even before I enter the building, I can see these very large words on the wall in Montague. Wake Tech changes lives every day. And as they've said, that's why we come to work. And you also know I'm a big picture person, so what is in the back of my mind all the time is my belief that the community college is the entity that most has the chance to help begin to at least interrupt the cycle of poverty in our county, our state, in our country. And so I know this is a big goal, but in the back of my mind all the time is strengthen the middle class. I'm alarmed that the middle class is shrinking in this country. And because Wake Tech is a full-blown technical community college, and as Monica said, we serve everybody. I think we have a chance of strengthening the middle class in our county. So yes, I started out with changing the world as a child, and I really haven't changed. It's like Wake Tech is a small version of the world. I often think of us like the United Nations. And when the rest of the world gets me down, I focus on Wake Tech and what we can do. And I think what we can do is amazing. And thank all of you for your part in that.
In just a moment, I'm going to give all of you an opportunity to come to the mic that will be standing. Okay, with Sandra, and ask your own questions of these incredible executive women who have so many accomplishments and who we can all be so proud of. Some of them here. But so you'll have a few minutes in a few moments to be thinking about these questions. And wow, I hate to follow up that last statement with anything. I mean, that just really sums it up, what's happening here at Tech. But there is one question I'd love your feedback on, and that is this idea of being twice as good, or having to be twice as good in order to achieve success as a woman, as a minority. There's a school of thought that I've heard that says that's a damaging message to send to our children, that you have to be twice as good. And yet we know that you have to sometimes be twice as good. How do you respond to that message, the idea that that's not a really healthy message to send? Is it an okay message? What do you think, Monica?
I would say for me, it's just being the best I can be. It's what I try to strive for every day. And as you talked about mentors and who we look to, it's recognizing I don't know everything and who does it better than me. And I can look at each of the folks sitting up here and each of folks in the audience who I know and have worked with and say, gosh, if I could just do it like this, or wow, I wish I could say it like that, or, Benita Clark, I'm sorry, she's not here. Oh my gosh, if she fired me, I think it would bother me. Yeah, okay, I understand why that. I don't know how she does it, but those are the types of things where I think if you push yourself, that's the most you can ask. I can't ask somebody to be more than that. So.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, that for me, it's being the best me I can be. And that's all I can ask of myself, is just to do my best, and hopefully it's good enough. And I've been fortunate throughout my life that I haven't come up against that. So as long as I do my best, that's all I can do.
I'm saying, I've heard it, I've probably said it to my children too. It's a very heavy burden to carry. Well, speaking as a minority, I think being realistic, you have to know the environment you're in. In some environments, you do have to be twice as good, because everybody else is not ready for you. Everyone else sometimes have not had experience with you, so they don't know what to expect. Maybe they're dealing with their own stereotypes. So when you come and you're articulate and you're educated, that's different for some folks. And so you do have to maybe prove yourself. But I would say, don't stay in that place for too long, because it can be very tiring. It's very exhausting to have to prove yourself every day. And if you feel like you're in that environment, I would say take self-care. Because, every battle is not worth fighting, and every battle is not even fighting.
Very nice. All right, I think I will. Thank you. Let's give these ladies a round of applause. I'm going to let Sandra take my microphone, and maybe Rebecca, you and I can share and take some questions.
And as we're doing that also, you have surveys on your table. It's really important. It's the first time we've done something like this, so we really, really want to be able to get your feedback. I know that you guys were just as inspired as I was. Let's give them another round of applause. And we really want to thank you for your transparency, just for sharing your heart with us. We learned so much. Rita and I over here, Michelle, we're just taking notes. Just little nuggets, some tweetable moments we got right there. Just really, that really meant a lot to us as we are still moving forward in our Wake Tech career, and just to hear, your heart and that great wisdom. We thank you so much. And so please make sure that you give us your feedback today, so we'll know as we move forward what more you would like to see. And so you have an opportunity to ask some questions. And we encourage you, don't be shy, because you're not going to get this opportunity again. So take advantage. We're here in the moment, and we do have our online community. Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. All right. They have a question? Awesome sauce.
Gabriella Truelove wants to know, how do you find a mentor, or does a mentor find you?
I like this. There you go.
Good question.
You find the mentor. Do not wait on the mentor to find you. If you remember nothing else today, do not wait. You build the bridge to the person. Identify people you can learn from. You build the bridge. Remember, it's a huge compliment to be asked to share our wisdom. But yeah, so I can't emphasize that enough. Don't wait.
And find somebody who you admire, who you think is doing something right, and learn from that. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Good question.
Anyone else?
Yes, we have a young lady here at the table who has a question. Did you have a question too?
So as women, I think we deal with imposter syndrome a lot in every area of our lives. So when you're in a position higher up like you guys are, do you still deal with that? Do you still have imposter syndrome? And if so, how do you talk yourself out of it?
Help me out. What is imposter syndrome?
Can you explain that?
Imposter syndrome is where you go into a place and you're like, oh my God, are they going to find out I'm not qualified? I don't know what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
I think early on in my career I did, but then I realized that the people in the room didn't know either. After that it became okay, because again, I know it's going to go in prepared. You know what? And then you have to get okay with, it's okay if I can wing it. I think I told Sandra that this morning. Sandra sent me some additional questions this morning. And I was in a meeting, I thought, well, I don't have time to prepare. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I calmed myself down. I said, I've done this before.
It gets easier.
Any other questions?
There's got to be one more question. All this great wisdom.
Let's talk about networking until you.
Olivia.
That's perfect, that leads straight into it. So we talked a lot about mentors today. There's another aspect that's been, hasn't been discussed as frequently, which is the sponsorship.
Yeah.
So how do you get for someone who's gonna sponsor you by advocating for you when you're not in the room? And I don't wanna ask the question, where do you find that? But how do you build that establishment of sponsorship so that way someone can advocate when you're not in the room, when that job becomes available that you're looking for?
I would just add to your question, so do you actually go up to someone and say, would you be my sponsor?
Well, I don't know if I would say it like that. What I would do is have done a thorough evaluation of what I bring, what my strengths are. Because when you're asking someone to be a sponsor, you're asking them to advocate on your behalf when you're not there. So they're putting their reputation on the line. So if I'm going to say to Dr. Scott or Dr. Greene, you need to keep your eye on Lavita Joseph because she's got this, this, and this. I need to be able to rattle off your skill set, and you need to have convinced me that you can do those things. I need to have seen it. As Dr. Greene mentioned, we've never turned down opportunity. And so one of the things I see here sometimes is that people want to get compensated for doing something extra before they do the job. I may be old school, but that didn't work for me. I wouldn't advise for other people. Go ahead and step out. When we ask for people to be on committees, put your name out there. Give me something so when I go to put my name on the line and say, this person is going to be, it needs to be considered for the next director, next dean job. That's what you're asking. And I don't mind doing that. We're in positions now where we're able to do that, and we didn't always have women there. So again, have your stuff together if you're going to ask somebody to take that leap beyond mentorship to sponsorship.
And I would go along with that 110%. I'll sponsor people who may not even know they're being sponsored because I've seen their initiative, I've seen their dedication, their commitment, and they just impress me. And I've had other staff, like you said, who they're just sitting back waiting, and when something shows up, they're like, well, and I'm like, yeah, that speaks more to me than anything you could possibly say. You know, and I know that's part of my personality trait. I watch people, and I'm very observant, so.
And this is a distinction that was brought up at a session in Women in IT recently. I do think this is an important distinction. It's easier to find a mentor than to find someone who will sponsor you because a sponsor puts his or her own reputation on the line. Sponsorships, I would say, are much longer term. They are more like the relationship that I described, which might not be smooth, and you may have to learn the lessons that the sponsor believes are important. You may not see at the time that what your sponsor wants you to learn is what you need to learn, but you learn it anyway. And when I said you build the bridge in that relationship, when you identify someone, sometimes it's someone in a chain of command who is in a position to be your sponsor or who has a certain kind of influence in the community, then they have to be willing, but you typically take the majority of the responsibility for building that relationship and keeping it going and making sure that it's beneficial to them and a pleasant experience for them. And what I said earlier is important, especially in the sponsorship. Remember, it's flattering to be studied. I have studied Dr. Scott for 15 years. I can remember things he said 12 years ago that of course, he doesn't remember, and I'll say, oh, you remember the time you said so-and-so to me? And of course, he just smiles. But it's flattering to be studied, to be an object of research. So, keep that in mind. How would you, and I need your help. What would you say about this situation?
Then I would add that the relationship needs to be there. So when I have advocated for people, it's been because I believed in that person. And I've learned to believe in that person because I've had enough contact with the person that I know his or her strengths, and I believe. So when people come and ask me things like that and I don't really know them, there's not so much I can do.
I have a question actually, since we're talking about mentorship. So I know in business they talk about it being a mutually beneficial relationship. So for example, we see someone on your level and we're like, oh, I would love for her to mentor me. But realistically, you've got so much you need to do. Everybody and their mother wants you to mentor them, right? So it's like, who do you pick and choose? Who am I going to give my time to? Because it's not like you have this excess time. So with that person coming with an ask, it's also coming with an offer. Here's how I could be of benefit to you. How can I support you? You know, maybe there's something that you're doing that I could say, can I help you do that so I can kind of just be in shadow and, you know, help you to bring an offering? What would you say in this kind of situation as far as it allowing it to be a mutually beneficial relationship as opposed to someone just sucking all your energy and your time and not thinking about what your needs are?
That's a great point. It's interesting that some of the people who I end up having an opportunity to mentor, they volunteered for something special or they've taken on an additional role. So we're back to take opportunities when they come.
And I would say that for me, every mentorship is a two-way street. So even folks that I have been a mentor to, I've learned from as well, and whether they realize it or not. So if, for example, there was someone who I helped mentor, and she was interested in internal communications and improving communications. Well, I got ideas from her as much as she got ideas from me. So finding some kind of middle ground where you might share some ideas, it often works out well.
I'll just add that as far as mentoring, what I found is you discover pretty quickly who's committed to being mentored, because some may say that they want a mentor, but are they investing the time in themselves to be in front of you? So for me, it's if you want to be mentored, I've had people, not many, but to ask if I would do that. But generally, those who've asked have not been available, have not made themselves available to be mentored. So that volunteers and so forth. If you're working with me, then you're working with me. You're showing up. You're there. You're going the extra mile. You're asking questions. You're listening to advice. I'm listening back to you, and it just kind of happened.
You're hungry.
Yeah.
Stay over there. Good. There's a question here. Good.
I'll just speak that. You started to touch on the issue of networking, and I'm a fellow introvert. My heart is pounding right now as I'm thinking about asking a question. I'm specifically interested in your advice and your tips on going into networking situations where you're supposed to be breaking the ice, starting a conversation, and somehow, potentially coming out with a new relationship for yourself and for the college.
Great question.
Yeah, so what tips do you have?
You step in the room and
I'm sorry, I am the extrovert, but Matt Smith has taught me something really important. Matt Smith is our executive director of the foundation. I don't like small talk. So even though I'm an extrovert, I want to talk about saving the middle class. And Matt says, no, you have to visit first. He says, ask them to tell you about themselves. And I'm good at listening to other people tell me about themselves, so I just want to throw that out there. We like to talk about ourselves. Tell me about yourself. What do you do?
Thanks for clarifying what she said. But that is really good advice, and that's what I like to do too, is ask people about themselves, and that goes back to my previous career of interviewing people, and people do like to talk about themselves. So that's the
Everybody's happy.
right. So, but you need to be genuinely interested too.
Oh yeah, I'm good at actually interested. I am.
keeps you on call. It just doesn't feel right. So you have to, when I'm interviewing someone, I've got to find a reason why I want to talk to them. It might be someone I wasn't interested in talking to, but before we sit down, I've got to find a reason. I've got to find an area of likability in order to be authentic and get, that exchange. Because people can feel your genuineness, I think.
Yes, as an introvert. One of the games I play with myself is when I go to an after-work event where I've got a network, I said, well, I'm gonna make myself meet 3 new people. 3 people that I don't know. And one thing about it, I always go prepared with something, because they're gonna ask, well, what do you do? So I've got my little speech ready, what I do, and what I do in college. But some of our best tips I've got actually from our Career and Employment Resources page. You know, go in, I make myself go in and find somebody shake their hand. I extend first, so I try to project out first, even though I'm back walking to a wall and just saying, how long do I have to be here? So I make myself do all these things. So at the end of the night, I'm feeling pretty good. So it's a confidence booster for the next time. And I make myself, it's not like going to the gym. I gotta make myself do it again. Do it again. And it becomes, it's still awkward, but it's becoming easier now.
Have another question? We thank you all our men in the room supporting us.
My name is Josh. I'm also a fellow introvert.
And the weather day.
Yes, formally yes.
No, you're our weather man.
I try to be the best.
He
Yes.
has predicted the snow and the closings. He has been 3 times in a row, now 4 times in a row. So I just said,
He's a meteorologist, so.
he's a meteorologist.
Recovering. Yes. I'm batting 1,000 by the way. I think. This is going to be a bit conflicted, so bear with me. Being an introvert at the same time. I respect women's rights. I respect the Women's History Month. I was raised by a single mom. I'm an only child. I saw the struggle that my mom went through, but also at the same time, I take a step back. So my question to you is, for someone that admires you in your roles, how would you tell someone that is a younger male what would be the right way to approach you to be a mentor, especially in the advent of the Me Too movement? Because now I feel like I'm in a position where I'm afraid to do that, or what do I do now, or how do I do this, but yet I feel I can communicate better with women because I was raised by a single mom. So I feel like I'm kind of in a tough position. How would you help me here, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's a wonderful point, and coming from my perspective, you know, I think if you get to know the person, as we talked about earlier, figure out who that person is you want to be mentored by, you know, finding that connection before you ask the question, and then understanding that person. So I'm very much a face value. I've been told by Dean Robinson I have no poker face, I can't do it. You know, so I'm not going to read into a situation, but other people may, and so it's getting to know the person that you're being mentored by well enough to kind of figure out how they work and what they're like too. But I don't think that completely answers your question, but I think that's one piece of it.
I was a single mother of one son for a long time, so I understand what you're talking about. But I think if you present yourself the way you just did right now, I don't think there will be a problem. I think you have to be yourself, be sincere, speak with conviction, and I don't think you'll be misunderstood.
Any other questions?
Historically, we have sort of assumed that successful women have given up something. Are we past that now? Do you all feel like you've given up anything to be where you are and to have accomplished what you've accomplished? Has it changed?
I don't think I've had to give up anything. I've had to delay some things. I've had to plan out some things. Because we chose to have children early, I wasn't able to go straight to graduate school and then get a doctorate later. So I consider myself a late bloomer. But I didn't want to miss those times where my kids had soccer games and cheerleading practice and all that stuff. So I chose, and I own that, I chose to slow down my career path. I could have been further along now had I chosen to give up some of those other things, but I didn't want to do that. So I chose to focus on my family and then do my additional education later. Because I chose to get married. I could be all over the country doing what I do, but again, I chose to be married, so my family is here. So I don't consider it necessarily giving up, so it's making choices and being okay with your own choices. So I don't necessarily compare myself to somebody else who's able to go straight through and where they are now. In fact, we're talking with some girlfriends this weekend. As women, sometimes we don't always cheer on other women. I applaud Dr. Greene. She's going to be a president somewhere someday, pretty soon, because she's just great that way. Other people have things that they're going to do. We need to learn as women to cheer on other women, because I want them to be just as glad for me when I get to whatever my goal is when they get there.
I'd love to respond to that too. I'll just say, know thyself. You know, there are women out there who are just like at the top of the career ladder, or the top of the career game, and I don't know what they wanted, but I can only assume that that's what they wanted. For me, the story is the same as for Rita. I could be in a different place, but I wouldn't have the life that I have. And there are times when I have to make a decision about, am I going to work another hour later, or am I going to go ahead and close the laptop and leave? Because there's a little person who's waiting for me to come pick her up. And for me, in that moment, that's more important to me than sending another email. I've already sent the emails and been late to go get her, and it's not worth it to me. So, but it might be worth it to someone else, and I don't judge them for it. But I think if you know who you are and what you need to feel comfortable with life, then you make your decisions accordingly. And the worst thing is to not know yourself and be living someone else's dream and then be miserable at the end.
And I think there's a time where you come to terms with what you're looking for and what your needs are, and become comfortable in your skin. I think that's what's going to be most important. And I don't think that's a female or male issue. I think that's just a person issue, because anybody who's at a certain level or a certain place in their life, it doesn't matter if they're male or female, they've all had to make some choices along the way. Whether they view them as sacrifices or whether they view them as choices, that's their decision.
And I think that's what I want to second is male or female, I don't believe you can have it all. So I think it's about choices and making the choices that work. But when you have a certain level of responsibility, it is always with you. And yes, it does cost. But if it's what is your life's work, then that's the benefit that it gives back. But I don't believe, Dr. Scott and I had a conversation about this not too many months ago. I don't believe we can have it all. We have to choose. Otherwise it's just too much.
And I would add, in that choice, you need to remember to factor yourself in. So you're taking care of work, you're taking care of home, you're taking care of everyone, and you need to make sure that includes you. If you don't take care of you, then you really aren't very good at taking care of the other things either. So I would throw that into the balance.
And go get your toes done.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was just going to add that I know so many women that chose to forego their careers and now stay home with their children. I never did. I honestly, I was a late bloomer having a child, and so I did my career first, and then after I had my daughter, then I decided to make a change because I knew I needed a better work-life balance. But there are many professional women that I know that are staying home with their children, and I so admire them for making that choice, but that was the right choice for them.
I think that's a great place for us to end in taking care of ourselves. And again, let's give them one more round of applause.